Have you or someone you know had a traumatic brain injury or have PTSD? Welcome to the Survivors2Thrivers channel. My name is Joshua Blatman and I have had both. In this video, I'm going to share some of my story and some techniques and technologies that have been most helpful for me in my recovery. Quick disclaimer, I'm not a medical professional and nothing I say should be taken as medical advice. Please remember to take full responsibility for your own well-being, practice great self-care, and seek appropriate professional assistance as needed. Now, recently my brother admonished me. He said, "You're telling me that if you were in front of a room of high school kids with brain injuries and PTSD that you wouldn't have anything to say to them, that you wouldn't have anything to offer?" And that made me emotional because when I had my traumatic brain injury, which put me in a coma, I was in high school. But fortunately, I have some amazing advocates on my team who've helped me through it. At this point, almost 20 years now, after the accident that caused the TBI, coma, and PTSD, I can happily say that I've made a full recovery, but I wouldn't have been so fortunate without all the things I did. And that's what I want to share with you here. Little did any of us know the complications of PTSD with a traumatic brain injury. I dealt with undiagnosed complex PTSD for 15 years after the accident, and I had no one who understood it. I thought I was a hypochondriac until I saw an EMDR therapist in 2015 who showed me a Venn diagram of the comorbidities between PTSD and TBI, which were exactly what I was dealing with at the time. Side note, EMDR stands for Eye Movement Desensitization and Rehabilitation. The therapist helped me see how TBI and PTSD exacerbate each other, and that put me on the road to leveraging the approach to healing that I learned from my father, Dr. Blatman, MD, to understand PTSD and find modalities that were effective and free-ish, since I was living on my own by then and didn't have much money. Again, here are tools that have helped me and a little bit about how I understand that they work. I'm sure there are doctors who can explain the science better, and I need to reiterate that what I said at the beginning, that none of this is medical advice. Please remember to take full responsibility for your own well-being, practice great self-care, and seek appropriate professional assistance as needed. Okay. I'll share the things in order that I did them, but that's not necessarily the order that would be best for you. So remember the disclaimer and trust your instincts and intuition. The first thing I did, except it wasn't me who did it, since I was in a coma at the time, is cranial sacral massage. A therapist worked on me in the hospital room on day 3 of the coma, and I woke up on day 4. The idea is that it helped release the trauma energy that was stuck in my body. And when you think craniosacral, think cranium and then sacrum, and increasing the ease of natural movement in the fluid that lubricates your brain and your skull and your spine and your backbone. My understanding is that from there, the nerve endings go out to the rest of your body, and I'll put a link to more information about cranial sacral massage in the description to give you a jump start on further learning about it. The second thing I did is Brainwave Biofeedback. Now, a lot has changed between when I initially did Brainwave Biofeedback in 2001 and when I did more sessions in 2017. In both situations, the medical professional puts electrodes on your head, maybe has you wear earbuds too, depending on the program, and in modern versions, depending on the program, you might play a video game that displays real-time responses of what the electrodes on your head receive from your brain. For example, if your brain is emitting brainwaves within normal ranges, your character in the video game moves like you want it to, and if your brain emits anomalies or spikes, the video game character will mess up. This is an example of biofeedback from your brainwaves, meaning it generates feedback based on what your neurobiology is doing. There are several different types of programs of brainwave biofeedback, from one program called NeuroOptimal or Neuroptimal, which is kind of unique to others that fit in the category of brainwave entrainment. Both of these types of programs are linked in the show notes below, and I invite you to research it more since I barely touched on it here. The second thing to share that has made an incredible impact for me to this day is yoga. I've been doing yoga for many years, and it always seems to help me feel more in my body. Some people say it's just stretching, but in my experience, you get out of it what you put into it, and it's a lot about your intention and your breath. Life starts and stops with the breath, after all. For me, yoga and its cousin, Kundalini Yoga, help a lot more with PTSD symptoms than the TBI specifically. In fact, for the last few years, I've been doing a lot more Kundalini than regular yoga. Kundalini is really great practice for moving stuck emotions. The place where I get Kundalini series, or Kriyas as they're called, is the website 3ho.org, which is also linked in the show notes below. Third, let's talk big picture about brain-body synchrony. I have a music degree, which is related, so maybe I have a little bit of expertise with this. If your brain gets hit by the case that was tasked with its protection, aka your skull, it can mess up your internal timing and proprioception. I did marching band in college at The Ohio State University, go Bugs, and having to memorize music, march, and pay attention to drill charts and formations was challenging, and I believe having to coordinate all of those things at the same time has helped my internal sense of timing. A modern program that works on these same basic principles and doesn't require you to march and play an instrument is called interactive metronome. This program was a game changer for me in the last few years. I used it intensively when I had one of my short-lived jobs, and the effects have lasted for years. I'll provide a link to interactive metronome in the show notes below as well. After getting the PTSD diagnosis in 2015, I found emotional freedom technique. This is the next one, emotional freedom technique, or EFT for short. There are several books about EFT, but what I did since I was bootstrapping my recovery was find a YouTuber with videos whose titles resonated with what I was feeling, and I did as many as I could. I did a bunch of different ones and found a bunch of different YouTubers, a bunch of different people online that were doing EFT videos, and I found one YouTuber in particular with videos I liked by a guy named Brad Yates, who I interviewed him for my podcast, which is, I believe it's number 2, and I linked that one below as well. After probably around 100 videos, I understood the process well enough and do EFT myself without a script when specific needs show up. The idea is that this can be learned and you can do it on your own when the need arises. Essentially, in each video, you tune into an emotional experience, and the leader of the video, whether it's you or the person of the video that you're watching, guides viewers through a script designed to unlock that particular emotion. These are great, and I've linked Brad Yates' YouTube channel below as well. He's got up to around 1,000 videos. If you're up for it, after you're done with this video, I invite you to find Brad's channel and find one of his 1,000-ish videos that resonates with something that you want to unlock, and follow along with his dialogue and his tapping. The next thing to really consider is diet and nutrition. Your body is a race car, and it's the only one you'll ever have. So you really have to make sure you put fuel into it that supports its optimal levels of functionality as well as its regeneration. That's it for this video. Just a quick summary I mentioned. The first one was craniosacral massage. The second one is brainwave biofeedback. Thirdly, I mentioned yoga and Kundalini yoga. Then I suggested offered interactive metronome and the idea of brain-body synchrony. And then I offered emotional freedom technique, which works based on the energy system in the body. And then I offered diet and nutrition. And those are the main things that helped me in the many years since the accident. Lastly, which I have not mentioned, is astrology, which is the study of the synchrony between real life events and occurrences that happen in space. And space is both outer and inner. And we've all heard as above, so below, and the idea that everything is connected. So after years of PTSD and feeling lost, dealing with addictions, it can be really hard to find your center, or at least that was my experience. And then who am I and what are my strengths and how do I apply myself in the world? And the principles in astrology really helped me re-anchor myself to my world. And so that's it for this little video. Hopefully I've planted some good seeds for you to do some more research on your own if you're dealing with traumatic brain injury or PTSD, so that you can take your healing into your own hands and transition from survivor to thriver. Thank you very much.